My only experience with rum really was I didn't know anything about drinking anything except beer because that's all I drank as a kid. Get to the bars here in Portland and suddenly I have to order something and I know people drank rum and Coke. So I started drinking rum and Coke all the time and had ghastly hangovers from it.
One time when I was in high school, we stayed up all night at the Quality Pie. Do you remember the Quality Pie? Well, we stayed up all night there. We had MUN, like Model United Nations, in the morning, and we had to write resolutions and stuff. And we had a whole bottle of Bacardis. Well, the idea was to just kind of drink coffee and eat french fries and stuff and stay up at the Quality Pie all night like we were beatniks. And we drank this bottle of rum, and then finally I went home probably around 5 o'clock or something like that. And then you opened my door, and Max came in, the cat, Max, and he came up and licked my nose, and I threw up. And you were like, Travis is throwing up, Travis is throwing up. And then Dad and Lida came in and yelled at me.
So when you drink, you, of course, get intoxicated. And that's because your NADPH gets all used up. And so you basically left with acetone. I think it's acetone. Some sort of byproduct in your system that basically poisons you and creates.
It was the original drink of the colonies back in like the very early days before they started making corn mash whiskey. Until recently, the British Navy issued a rum ration.
The Russians drank vodka, the Germans drank schnapps, and the British drank whiskey.
It seems to me that like there's this rumor that the federal government has all of its retired spies and stuff, you know, from like all their spy agencies, all live down in the Caribbean. And it probably started with the rum runners. That's what I think. That's how they kind of did a covert operation. They covered it up with like, well, we're making rum. We are rum distillers. We're not spying. We're rum distillers. The American Virgin Islands, loaded with spies. Or what do they call those guys?
Intelligence officers?
No, not a formal word.
Spook?
Spooks, yeah, they call them spooks. Yeah.
There's some Kon-Tiki thing, and they have a rum, like a rum club or something. And you have to be sponsored to get into it. And, you know, like there's famous people, like I think Tom Peterson was in, and there was some rule that you could only do it once, but like you could call up another member and they had to supply you with rum. You could call them up in the middle of the night and then they were supposed to do that.
Rum is a conspiracy?
Definitely. You know, I mean, you go down there and there's like the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, there's all kinds of weird shit down there.
And it was a currency in itself. Like sugar, because it was made from sugar cane.
And I think it's made like from sugar cane.
So we wouldn't have rum without slaves from Africa, or slavery in the United States or in the Caribbean period. So one of the references I was reading about slavery on one of the Caribbean islands that the French owned is that they figured out that a slave could last 2.5 years at hard labor in the cane fields. So they bought accordingly. They would buy like top-notch black males to work the fields knowing that they could get at least 2.5 years out of them before they died. So they just, basically the French would just work their slaves to death. And I think that Haiti.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a French colony.
And it was the only successful slave revolt in history.
Yeah, and that's...
They kicked the French out.
And then they ended up having to pay France
a shitload of money.
A shitload of money.
Never been the same since.
And they basically
the French
bankrupt.
Really owed them, you know.
Oh, the French fuck everybody up. You know, everybody hates the French. Sorry, Dave. I know.
I think it's from like the Caribbean. It's like the drink of pirates.
Pirates of the Caribbean drink.
And I know that sailors like rum. You know, it's from the islands, somewhere. Caribbean, maybe.
Navigational skills.
That's right.
Rum sodomy and navigation. That's what built the fleet. No, rum and sodomy, sir.
Rome and sodomy.
That's what made the fleet.
That's what kept the fleet going. Have I ever seen a gay film that was about rum and sodomy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It also reminds me of Johnny Depp in The Rum Diary. It's about this alcoholic that drinks a lot of rum.
You've read the book To Have and Have Not by Hemingway, where these two guys get in a arm wrestling match, and it takes like 48 hours, and they smoke and drink rum the whole time. That's like a rum story.
Corel or
Yeah,
something like that.
It's from a French author that.
And then Brad Davis.
Yeah, Brad Davis
died of AIDS.
Yeah.
And does it have to do with rum?
They're sailors.
There are sailors.
So sailors drink rum.
I thought the subject was sodomy, sir.
Gave
the quartermaster a good pumping on the poop deck.
On the poop deck.
There was a period in my life where I drank, probably exclusively drank rum right when I was in the Air Force. And then I quit drinking rum for a really long time, and then I just started sampling different flavors, probably within the last 3 or 4 months. I was like, I haven't had rum for a long time. In the Coast Guard one time, I had bought a bottle of 151 rum. We were about ready to get out. It was like port security school. You're there for 2 months. We drank a lot of that, the 151 rum, and then we went, that was in the barracks. Me and this guy named Bly went to the Enlisted Men's Club, which is like the bar on base. And we drank Long Island iced tea, which I believe one of the things it has in it is rum. We drank like 4 pitchers of it between us. We got in a fight. When we got in the barracks, I went up to the TV room, and somehow I had, those electric squirt guns? They shoot for like 20 feet, and they're really accurate. And somehow I had one in my hand. So I walked into the TV room, and I started squirting people. One of the guys that I squirted, a couple of days before that, I had told him that I shit on his dead grandfather. And I think he resented that. So the next thing I knew, my head was in the toilet, and it was filled with blood. I think it was my blood. I don't know.
Well, I was at a friend's house when my friend John, and he had some psilocybin mushrooms that he wanted us to try, so I tried some. And after about 3 hours, John brought out a bottle of 151 proof rum, and we drank the whole bottle, and we didn't get drunk. So, 151 proof rum is so powerful that you can hardly lift it up to your mouth. With the smell of it is almost enough to knock your nose off.
Well, mushrooms is a different effect. So when I've done mushrooms, it makes you really high and hyper and awake. And you don't get the sleepy effect, the depressing effect the alcohol does, because the mushrooms counter effect that. So you may not feel drunk, you are drunk.
I've drank Myers rum, I think and back then that was like a higher class rum.
Bacardi, is that rum?
Yeah.
Oh, Bacardi, the one with the fat on it.
When people wanted to party, they always had their Clipper Cruzan rum, which is 120 proof or something like that, or the Mara rum, which is 151 proof.
Talking about the brand Kraken.
My favorite rum is Sailor Jerry's spiced rum. It goes well with Coke.
Other than drinking eggnog at Christmas, I haven't really had too much rum in my life.
Just like all those gourmet rums now, and the snob rums, and it's something that costs $158 a bottle, and people can say, oh, look what I'm drinking. It's like distilled from this one distillery in this tiny little island.
It's like white rum and dark rum.
But I think it's also like percentage of alcohol mostly too, And And then they talk about they
And
put different
spiced rum.
flavorings in rum. Yeah.
Yeah, like Sailor Jerry's really is pretty good. I can actually knock it back straight.
Rum reminds me of get-togethers with friends and family.
My dad liked rum. He was in the Navy. He was a sailor.
My mom drank a lot of it. So, my dad, I don't know what he drank.
What kind
He
of?
died of
what
drunk.
Straight warmer, like room temperature shots of rum also, which I enjoyed. And then, let's see. I think I had it with some orange juice, which I really thought was terrible.
What can a person mix with rum?
Well, obviously not orange juice. God. I don't know. You can mix just about anything with it. I mean, it depends on your taste buds, I guess. Celery juice. But I guess rum and coffee, and I mean, that's the basis of, like, you know, a little Kahlua, rum, coffee, you know, I mean.
It's good with a hot drink.
Yeah, it's a hot drink, yeah.
Recently, Matt and I went out paddling on the river, and I had brought a flask because it was a freezing cold day, and I was like, well, let's have a wintertime treat after we get out of the water.
I've always wondered why people like rum, because I think it's so sweet and it has a sort of a, it's not a, I mean, you know, unless you're drinking it for the alcohol, I don't know why you would drink it.